I would be talking to you about phacoemulsification in torn rhexis, and the classical teaching was that whenever the rhexis is torn, you should either convert or not do a phaco or do a very careful phaco, but the incidence of torn capsulorhexis is less than 1%. The factors which determine what one has to do next depends upon the density of the lens, the size of the capsulorhexis, the configuration of the capsulorhexis, and I think the most importantly, the experience of the surgeon. So if you're a novice surgeon and the capsulorhexis is torn, then it is always best to convert to a small incision cataract surgery or extracapsular cataract extraction. The dangers of a torn rhexis are that whenever there's an anterior capsular tear such as this, it can go into the capsular fornix and can convert into a posterior capsular tear during any of the maneuvers of phacoemulsification or intraocular lens implantation. And this is a case of a white cataract where capsulorhexis is being done after staining the anterior capsule with a trypan blue dye. And this helps to delineate, this helps to do rhexis in cases of white cataract, but when you are doing with the help of a forceps, which gives a better control as compared to the needle, at times it may extend to the periphery. And when this happens, it is imperative to put viscoelastic through the side port so that you do not cause the extension of the rhexis. And with the help of the capsulorhexis forceps, the edge of the rhexis from wherein it is tearing and going peripherally is grasped and it is completed. So although you may not have a very symmetrical circle, but still the rhexis is circular and it is complete. Then there may be a situation such as this, or when there's a corneal opacity or when there's a corneal haze present, and it is possible to do rhexis even in these situations. From the clear area, a nick is given on the anterior capsule to cause the flap of the anterior capsule, and this is followed by the use of the capsulorhexis forceps. Again, one has to grasp the leading edge of the capsulorhexis and tear it. And just as you come to the area of the haze or area under the opacity, it is important that you tear the rhexis in such a manner that you do not leave it underneath the area of the haze or underneath the area of the opacity, because if it is lost underneath that, then it is very difficult to visualize it and to get it back into position. So in one stroke or in one go only, you just complete the rhexis from underneath the area of visualization, underneath the area where the visualization is poor. At times you may have to even do staining post facto, such as in this case. If excessive needling occurs, and this especially occurs when new surgeons are attempting to do capsulorhexis in their learning curve. So there may be excessive needling causing the rhexis margin to get lost into the stroma, and it becomes difficult to differentiate between the area of the stromal tissue which has been needled along with the edge of the rhexis. So even post facto, one can stain it and locate the leading edge of the rhexis. That is to say, it can be done at the staining can be done at any point in time whenever you lose the edge of the rhexis, or whenever you cannot make out the configuration of the capsulorhexis margin, whether it is a white cataract or it is a immature cataract. Now, this is a case of white cataract with coloboma with anterior capsular fibrosis, which is delineated only after you stain it. And then again, a decision can be taken whether phacoemulsification would be done in such a case, or whether it is better to convert it into an extracapsular cataract extraction. Sometimes you may have to encompass the area of the anterior capsular fibrosis, such as in this case, which is a case of pediatric cataract, and the whole area of fibrosis was encompassed in the circular rhexis, in the capsulorhexis, and the whole circle was completed. Now, when you are chopping, at times you may chop the rhexis, such as in this case, it is the last piece when the parameters for your phaco machine should be kept low. The aspiration rate, the irrigation should be kept at low parameters. And there is a nick which is present over there, which has been chopped by the chopper. And again, when you're putting viscoelastic in such cases, it is imperative that you do not put excessive amount of viscoelastic, because that can again go at the back, and a careful intraocular lens implantation should be done. Again, this is a case of white cataract with raised intralenticular pressure, and capsulorhexis flap is being initiated with the help of the needle. And just as it is customary to do and it is simpler to do, forceps gives a better control, but most of the extensions occur towards the end of the rhexis, just as you are just as you are ending it. There's a keyhole rhexis. At this point in time, again, viscoelastic should be put from the side port so that it doesn't go right into the periphery and does not extend posteriorly, and the edge of the rhexis is then snipped with the help of the Vanna scissors. Very gentle hydro maneuvers, hydro procedures should be done in white cataract. And then phacoemulsification in situ is done. That is, you know where the keyhole rhexis, and so your maneuvers should be directed away from the keyhole of the rhexis, and it is better to emulsify and then to chop and to emulsify simultaneously, so that some amount of the intralenticular pressure that is increased is actually released, and the rest of the fragments are then taken into position and are subsequently emulsified. And without causing excessive manipulation of the and whenever you take out your instruments, again you have to put viscoelastic from the side port before you take it out. Gently maneuver the nuclear fragments onto one side and do phacoemulsification in situ, so that excessive manipulation of the nuclear fragments does not occur. Now, after having done this, it is important to do a bimanual irrigation aspiration in these cases, again, because it helps in visualization of the cortical matter from underneath the fornices, and very careful intraocular implantation of the 3-piece intraocular lens is being done here with the injector. And again, one has to be careful because at this point in time the rhexis is not regular, and so the pressure inside the capsular bag is not uniform, and you notice that there is a stria which is coming on the posterior capsule here, and just as soon as the stria comes, you should inject some more amount of viscoelastic, not too much again, because the keyhole may go at the back, but enough to have space inside the capsular bag so as to put the lens in position. This is a case of post-penetrating keratoplastic cataract, and again, while doing phacoemulsification, there was a rip which occurred at the distal end, which was very much the configuration of the phaco, the way the phacoprobe valvular-like rip which was present, similar to the configuration of the phacoprobe. You can see that there is a nick here like that, and so these things actually tell you what has caused the nick. Whether it is the chopper, then it'll be just one single nick. When it is the phacoprobe, then it'll be a kind of V-shaped nick that is there, and again one has to be careful in these cases. Now, this is a case of IDDM, insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus, young patient, wherein the rhexis is being performed, and just as you give a neck, there's a zigzag configuration of the capsulorhexis, which is not very well highlighted here. But as you do irrigation aspiration, because there was no nucleus in this case, because the patient was very young, there is, as this is done, and underneath the retroillumination glow, you can make out the pattern of the rhexis, which finally is there, which is like a quadrilateral, zigzag quadrilateral. And just as the irrigation aspiration probe comes out, again viscoelastic is put from the side port inside the capsular bag, and this is followed by the again tailoring of the rhexis so that this quadrilateral gets converted into a circular capsulorhexis for the placement of the intraocular lens inside the bag. A nick is given, and with the help of the capsulorhexis forceps, the zigzag rhexis is then converted into a circular rhexis. It is sometimes also possible that you place intraocular lens although it was not possible in this case because the opening was very small, and then do a refashioning of the rexes later on, because once you have the platform of the lens, it becomes easier to do it rather than in an area where the capsular bag is unguarded, unshielded by the intraocular lens. And this is the classic case that we always show. Nick is given, and just as you give a nick because of raised intraocular pressure, it extends on both the sides before you realize it. And there is all you have to do is that this linear tear has to be converted into a circular tear. Small bolus of viscoelastic is placed, and a nick is given in the distal end of this linear tear with the help of the Vanna scissors and with the help of Capsulorhex's forceps. This is converted into a circular tear. Again, it is difficult. You cannot do this with the help of Vanna. So in between the two Sinskey hooks, a small nick can be given, or else one can even use a cystitome and a Sinskey hook to do this, as was also described by Dr. Vasavada. And after converting it into a circular rexus, the irrigation aspiration followed by intraocular lens implantation is done in this case. Because it is again a soft nucleus, it is easy to do irrigation aspiration, but if it is a hard nucleus, then again this can become a major challenge, because then you have to rotate the nuclear fragments to one side, either clockwise or anti-clockwise, and it becomes difficult, especially when it is torn from both the sides, to move the nuclear fragments on the either side, and a 3-piece intraocular lens is being then implanted. So what not to implant in a torn CCC? The capsular tension ring and plate heptic design IOL should never be implanted. And to conclude, the caveats in a torn rexus are that if it all depends on the experience of the surgeon, it is possible to salvage the rexus. The hydromaneuver should be gentle, with gentle nuclear rotation. The parameters have to be low bottle height, vacuum and aspiration when that occurs. Emulsify in situ, a bimanual irrigation aspiration is preferred, and a careful intraocular lens implantation should be done in these cases. Thank you for your attention.